Hello, everyone. My name is Carolyn Urena, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Sisu Global Health. And we are a medical device company for emerging markets. Donor blood costs $250 a pint in the US and in emerging markets. In Africa, there's also a severe shortage of donor blood. But there is an alternative, and that's if someone is bleeding internally, you can recycle their own blood through a process called autotransfusion. But because 80% of the world's medical technology is designed for 10% of the world's population, this is the standard of care for autotransfusion. It's high cost and infrastructure requirements force doctors around the globe to use nothing more than a soup ladle and gauze to autotransfuse. We are creating a new standard of care with Hemafuse. How it works is when someone is bleeding internally, you suction blood out through a filter, and when you press the handle down, it's transferred directly to a blood bag to be retransfused. The filter is disposed of, and the device is sterilized in between uses. We have a total $600 million market with Hemafuse in Africa alone. And we make profit through selling a packet to wholesale distributors with an 80% margin. We also save the patient on average $100 out of pocket as compared to donor blood. In the next 5 years, we expect to have $24 million in revenue and to impact 11 million lives with just this first product in our portfolio and in just these 2 regions in Africa. And we're just 1 year away from first sales with Hemafuse. We've incorporated a subsidiary in Ghana. We have letters of support from hospitals with $2 million of purchasing potential for Hemafuse. And we have clinical studies with the University in Zimbabwe and Johns Hopkins University that will be completed early next year. And we've done this with some really great partnerships. And we expect further follow-on funding from these organizations. We've also done this with a really amazing, talented, tenacious team with over 14 years of experience in medical devices and emerging markets. I've run companies in the US and India. Jillian has launched and founded a medical device design firm for Ghana, and Katie's run public-private partnerships across Africa. On our advisory board, we also have a Ministry of Health official and the former chief medical officer of a leading autotransfusion company in the US. And for what's next, we're raising a seed round of $700,000 to get us to first sale. And we're about halfway there. So if you're interested in joining Steve Case in investing in not only a great opportunity financially, but an opportunity to save millions of lives, please come talk to me.
Thank you very much.
I'll start off. Can you talk a bit more about how you actually developed this? I mean, is this an original technology, or is this something that you're adapting?
Yeah, so this is a brand new technology, and this is actually the device itself. And so this was developed after observing in the largest hospitals in West Africa that process I mentioned, basically scooping out blood, filtering it through gauze, and that was the inspiration to create this because 30% of a hospital's budget is spent on blood, and so this can both save money and save lives.
Is it sterilized the way any old piece of medical equipment would be sterilized?
Yeah, so the sterilization, the filter is disposed of, and the device is sterilized either with an autoclave or with high concentration disinfectant like bleach. And so that's what we'll be testing in this next round with our seed funding.
So you mentioned savings to patients. Do you anticipate that revenue streams are primarily from individual patients or from hospitals, or how do you picture that business model working?
Yeah, so the supply chain with medical devices is there's multiple stakeholders, and in that value chain, our customers, we're selling to wholesale distributors and who already work in the medical hospital system, and then they're selling to the hospitals, which mark it up further, and hospitals make their money on consumables. And so as that cost transfers down to the patient, it's important to keep that endpoint in mind, but our revenue, that 80% margin, comes from wholesale.
Can you talk a little more about how you got to the 24 million?
Yeah, so that's based on the cases viable for autotransfusion. So there's 20 million cases viable for autotransfusion. In West Africa alone, we have a $170 million market. And based on our on-the-ground observations, as well as a top-down analysis, we're looking at about a 12% penetration in West Africa and a smaller penetration in East Africa with those hubs out of Ghana and West Africa because distribution is regionalized.
I'm curious if once you reach your goals with the Hemafuse, are you thinking of any other devices in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we already have a portfolio of products that are waiting in the wings. Of course, we're focusing all of our time and attention on this one product, but we have a secondary product, which is a centrifuge that can separate blood with or without electricity, and other products that are in kind of a scaling mechanism from the larger hospitals into the rural areas in a step-by-step approach.
Can I ask another question? What level of medical staff uses this?
So this is, generally autotransfusion is performed by a surgeon right now, or an anesthesiologist, but we've designed our device with the idea that it could be operated by a scrub nurse. So kind of transferring it to a lower educated healthcare worker.
10 seconds.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.